Hello everyone, I am Afreen and welcome to today's lecture. Today my topic is going to be about pro-social behavior. My topic will be covering the following 9 major objectives: pro-social behavior, personal characteristics associated with pro-social behavior, situational factors and pro-social behavior, types of pro-social behavior, pro-social personality traits, importance and consequences of pro-social behavior, helping pro-social behavior and altruism, reasons for why don't people help, and theories of pro-social behavior. So, let us start with what pro-social behavior is. Pro-social behavior is self-directed, deliberate behavior that benefits another person. When such conduct is driven solely by the desire to help another person without any thought of personal gain, it is said to be altruistic. The social glue that allows people of different ages to coexist peacefully and effectively is pro-social conduct. Pro-social behavior is specifically described as voluntary, intentional behavior that benefits another person. Any action that is designed to help another person or group of people is considered pro-social behavior. Examples include helping a neighbor move a large piece of furniture or volunteering your time or money. Altruism is the most conspicuous kind of pro-social action since it involves incurring expense to assist another person without any hope or expectation of reward. When you act in a pro-social manner, your intention is to meet the needs of others. In general, there are 3 types of wants that humans have. The first is unmet desires, where a person lacks access to a necessary resource. The second is instrumental needs, where a person has trouble reaching a goal on their own. And the third is psychological suffering, including sadness or loneliness. Pro-social behavior can take many different forms, from simple acts of kindness like letting someone in the hurry go ahead at the cash register to longer lasting behaviors like volunteering for a non-profit organization, and even simple things like taking care of one's grandchildren that one might take for granted. The aforementioned example, however, amply demonstrates how pro-social behavior's incentives can alter over the course of a person's lifetime. Strong evidence suggests that pro-social conduct changes consistently across the adult lifespan, and that older persons behave more pro-socially than younger adults. Let us discuss some personal characteristics associated with pro-social behavior. Some persons are pro-socially inclined more than others, as is seen from daily interactions. Children and adults that are pro-social are more likely to empathize with others. Additionally, they are more inclined to attempt and understand the viewpoints of others and to understand their ideas and feelings. Additionally, those who tend to help others frequently have values that are other-oriented. For example, they value the welfare of others and tend to take responsibility for their own acts. Pro-social kids typically express their emotions positively, are socially adept, well-adjusted, well-regulated, and have a positive view of themselves. People who reason about moral dilemmas more maturely, for example, utilize more abstract moral reasoning with more complex perspective taking and a larger emphasis on values, are more likely to do so in both childhood and adulthood, or also more likely than their peers are to help others. It is noteworthy that preschoolers who exhibit spontaneous, somewhat expensive pro-social acts, such as lending a friend a toy they like, exhibit greater pro-social behavior as teenagers and are more likely to exhibit pro-social traits as adults. As a result, pro-social behavior seems to be consistent starting at a young age. Now we'll talk about situational factors and pro-social behavior. Although some people are more likely to offer assistance than others, the circumstances of a given event can also have a significant impact on people's readiness to do so. People are, for instance, less likely to assist when the expense is considerable. Additionally, they are more willing to aid attractive individuals and themselves if they are the only ones available. For example, there are no other people around who see an individual who needs assistance. Positive emotions are more likely to aid others than neutral ones. Yet, occasionally people with negative moods seem to help others feel better. Those who are exposed to examples of pro-social activity are also more willing to offer assistance. Additionally, it is crucial to consider how the circumstances of a situation interact with the personality traits of potential helpers. For instance, sociable people are more likely to provide helping that requires social interaction, whereas shy people frequently volunteer their services in circumstances where they don't need to be outgoing or assertive. Let us discuss major types of pro-social behavior. Three subtypes of pro-social behavior can be identified: proactive, reactive, and altruistic. The first one, being proactive, benefits the person who is engaging in it. Therefore, proactive acts are self-serving. The second one, reactive actions are in reaction to needs that other people have expressed. And altruistic behaviors have no other purposes besides serving the interests of others. Coming to another objective of my topic, which is pro-social personality traits. General personality qualities including honesty, humility, agreeableness, empathy, and other orientedness have historically been linked to pro-social conduct. Such personality traits help to improve and preserve positive interpersonal relationships. For instance, honesty, humility indicates the propensity to treat others fairly, genuine, and authentically, whereas agreeableness represents the propensity to treat people with respect, consideration, and sympathy. The pro-social actions that result from having high scores on certain personality qualities include helping behavior, conflict regulating behavior, constructive behavior, and accommodating conduct. Additionally, because they are morality-based personality traits, agreeableness and especially honesty, humility are linked to responsible and ethical actions in a variety of situations. Now, we'll concentrate on two more characteristics that have been found to be closely related to pro-social conduct. And the first is social value orientation. Social value orientation is a crucial determinant of one's propensity for pro-social conduct. Social value orientation, which is officially defined as preferences for a specific distribution of outcomes for oneself and others, has its origins in social decision making. Pro-social and pro-self attitudes are frequently distinguished in a general sense. Pro-social orientation is characterized by tendencies to prioritize equality in outcomes as well as the pursuit of outcomes for oneself and others. Pro-self orientation is characterized by a propensity to prioritize one's own interests over those of others. Honesty, humility, agreeableness, and social mindfulness have all been found to be positively correlated with social value orientation. Pro-socials typically display enhanced pro-social tendencies in a variety of contexts. For instance, pro-socials tend to be more charitable than pro-selves, as seen by their donations to deserving charities and their generosity in solving social problems. Additionally, they have a stronger desire to volunteer and donate posthumous organs in order to aid those in need and preserve lives. Pro-socials exhibit increased incentive to make sustainable decisions and to actively support transportation pollution reduction programs compared to pro-selves. Pro-socials also exhibit increased readiness to protect public assets such as environmental quality. The most important theories explaining the relationship between social value orientation and pro-social conduct emphasize the significance of a few other focused psychological processes such as mentalizing, empathic care, sense of social obligation, and concern for justice and equality. More particular, pro-socials demonstrate a better capacity to assign mental states to others, that is, recognize how others are feeling and thinking, and to exhibit increased empathetic care, that is, respond emotionally to the affective state of others. Pro-socials have an enhanced sense of social responsibility, that is, concern for the welfare of others, particularly when those others are in need or suffering, and reciprocity as a result of their capacity to tune into what other people are thinking and experiencing, that is, concern for equality in outcomes. As a result, pro-socials place a high importance on standards of fairness or equality and react negatively when such norms are broken due to their propensity to care about others as well as themselves. Thus, the aforementioned cognitive, emotional, and other focused processes have the effect of acting as social glue, attracting pro-socials to do good deeds and assist others. According to literature, people tend to become more pro-social and engage in other focused behaviors as they get older. This can be explained by the fact that as people become older, they engage in more varied social interactions, such as having more experience with interdependent relationships or come to understand the benefits of acting pro-socially. For example, pro-sociality can be instrumental for belongingness and social success. Several tools such as the social value orientation slider measure, the social value orientation triple dominance measure, and the social value orientation ring measure can be used to evaluate social value orientation. Second one is social mindfulness. A more recent concept called social mindfulness refers to a propensity to be attentive to the needs and desires of others in the here and now. Social mindfulness gauges the propensity to make decisions that provide other people agency over their own outcomes. More specifically, allowing others to choose in an interdependent scenario rather than restricting their options is an example of being socially attentive versus socially unmindful. Consider a scenario where you have a choice between a single piece of cheesecake or a few pieces of chocolate cake. Your decision will affect the possibilities accessible to the person who chooses after you if they are doing so. Choosing the singular option, that is, choosing the chocolate cake, would restrict possibilities for the other individual and show social irresponsibility. The non-unique alternatives, such as selecting one of the cheesecake's 5 slices, would in contrast provide the other person options and give him or her control over the results, demonstrating social attentiveness. Similar to social value orientation, social mindfulness have a favorable relationship with mentalizing and empathic care. Social mindfulness has been employed as a gauge of pro-sociality up to this point, but early research suggests it may also be a potent predictor of pro-social behavior, as manifested in acts of kindness and donations to charitable causes. Now we'll discuss another objective of today's lecture, which is Importance and consequences of prosocial behavior. Prosocial actions are linked to a better understanding of society. Both the one providing the support and the person receiving it can gain from it. It goes without saying that the person who receives prosocial actions, such as having their grass mowed or their dog walked, will have more free time. However, those who give of themselves will also reap rewards, such as improved mood and even less stress. Prosocial activity patterns are thought to foster expanded social networks, enhance mental health, and even strengthen a just and fair society over time. Coming to consequences of prosocial behavior. When one thinks of prosocial activity, it is usually assumed that the recipient will benefit, whether in terms of their emotions, finances, or other factors. The person who is helping or giving to others may also gain by acting in a prosocial manner, which is an important point. In fact, prosocial activity has been shown to have positive effects on physical, cognitive, and psychological well-being, especially as people age. If known, the rewards of prosocial activity for the donor may also increase incentive to exhibit such behavior, reinforcing a beneficial cycle that fosters prosocial behavior as well as health and well-being. Now, let me bring your attention to another objective of my topic, which is distinction between helping, prosocial behavior, and altruism. Actions that are taken to help a recipient's situation are referred to as helping. The concept of prosocial activity is more restrictive because acts of helping that are motivated by professional obligations or when the helpers or recipients or organizations are not regarded to be prosocial behavior. The last restriction has one exemption though. Charities are organizations whose mission is to advance the welfare of those in need, for example, the elderly. Supporting a charity entails using an intermediary to maximize the effectiveness of the assistance being provided. The final restriction on the definition of altruism is that the ultimate objective of the helper must be to assist another person. Prosocial behavior may ultimately be pursued to gain social acceptance or to lessen one's own distress when witnessing an emergency involving another person. Altruism, on the other hand, is only used to describe situations in which the helper strives to increase the welfare of another person as a means to an end. In reality, prosocial behavior frequently stems from a confluence of more egoistic and altruistic reasons. A cabin staff member helping a passenger with her luggage is an example of assistance that would not be seen as prosocial behavior because it was rendered in a workplace. Someone assisting a neighbor with completing an insurance paperwork is an illustration of prosocial behavior. Even if the helper expected her neighbor to repay her with a similar favor in the future, the behavior would be regarded as prosocial because the helper provided assistance without any professional responsibility to do so. In general, prosocial behavior may be motivated by the ultimate objective of helping another person, that is, altruistically motivated behavior, or the ultimate goal of helping oneself, that is, egoistically motivated behavior. We only use the word altruistic behavior to underline that a certain behavior serves the purpose of benefiting another person. Now we'll discuss some reasons of why don't people help. The first one is the theory of the unresponsive bystander, which involves threefold inhibitions. Several processes in combination may contribute to the social inhibition of prosocial behavior. The theory of the unresponsive bystander highlights three inhibition processes. First is diffusion of responsibility. A single bystander believes that it is his or her responsibility to take action. Each bystander feels less responsibility when there are other bystanders around, since duty is shared among everyone. This decreases the desire to take action on behalf of the victim. The second one is implicit modeling of nothing has happened. Rarely do emergencies happen, and when they do, they have a distinctive quality in that bystanders are unsure of how to react. Bystanders unknowingly act as examples of passivity for one another because they hesitate and try to decide what should be done. This modeling technique establishes the best course of action as inaction. Passivity is then established as the social norm as a result of the social characterization of the circumstance that results in a decrease in the bystander's propensity to act. Third one is fear of embarrassment. Embarrassment is the third factor that may lower the inclination to assist. Because they would be observers of a perspective intervention, other bystanders' presence can make people feel uneasy. The accompanying social anxiety prevents intervention, particularly in circumstances where bystanders are uncertain about their capacity to successfully assist because they feel they lack the skills to do so. Evaluation apprehension is a synonym for this condition. Additionally, potential aid seekers could worry about looking foolish by acting as though an emergency exists when none does. You will feel ridiculous if you rush to stop a quarrel when it turns out that two people were joking around. It is obvious that societal inhibition of pro-social activity in the general populace is a social issue. It is crucial to understand how it might be prevented as a result. The detrimental effects of this problem on our society might be lessened if the general public was informed and made aware of the issue of the inattentive bystander. Increased competence in helping others can be used as a countermeasure to unresponsive bystanders, since competence lowers the risk of embarrassment. Moving forward to another objective of my topic, which is theories of pro-social behavior. The very first is the evolutionary approach. Pro-social behavior has significant biological origins, which means that it is not an exception but rather the rule in social life, according to researchers in the domains of social and biological science. In the field of psychology known as evolutionary psychology, the adaptive importance of preferences, feelings, attitudes, and behavior is emphasized. It is based on Charles Darwin's original theories on sexual and natural selection, which have since been expanded upon by fresh discoveries made by biologists including William Hamilton and Robert Rivers. Environmental factors are not discounted or given less weight just because evolutionary adaptations are genetically determined. Learning processes modify all evolutionary adaptations. What a person behaves in a particular setting is determined by a complex interplay of the shared human genetic makeup, individual qualities, social learning, and perception of the immediate social conditions, not by genetic pre-programming. Another one is kin selection and reciprocal altruism. Based on innate or genetic tendencies, pro-social behavior is approached from an evolutionary perspective. This raises the intriguing question of how natural selection could favor a gene that heightens a person's propensity to assist others. If a person's or his or her ancestors' likelihood of reproducing is increased rather than decreased, pro-social behavior can be seen as the product of natural selection. According to Miller, which I quote, kindness to kin genes have evolved according to the hypothesis of kin selection. Reciprocal altruism, a circle of giving and receiving that includes pro-social behavior, is another problem. This loop may help an individual survive and succeed in reproduction. First, we think about kin selection. The distribution of a person's genes in the following generation affects how successful they are at reproducing or how fit they are overall. Total inclusive fitness consists of two elements. The first is direct fitness, or a person's ability to reproduce on their own. The second is the percentage of a relative's reproductive success that is caused by the individual's assisting behavior, which is indirect fitness. For instance, siblings have a genetic relatedness of 0.50. Thus, by raising the likelihood that brothers or sisters would survive, one might favor their own genes. Two siblings count as one child in terms of reproductive success, just like one's own child. Empirical data back up the theory. People say they are more likely to assist a brother because they have genetic relatedness of 0.50 than a nephew, where they have a genetic relatedness of 0.25, who in turn may need more assistance than a cousin with a genetic relatedness of 0.125. An acquaintance with a genetic relatedness of 0.0 has the lowest likelihood of getting assistance. Compared to ordinary circumstances, these findings are more significant for scenarios that reflect potentially fatal situations, when help is useful but not a life or death matter. Life-threatening situations represent the more important test of the notion of kin selection because they directly endanger the survivability of the help recipient. Social scientists have discovered reciprocity as a universal cultural norm, in contrast to evolutionary psychologists who described reciprocal altruism as a component of our shared genetic makeup. According to Goldner's theory, the rule of reciprocity has two requirements. First, help those who have helped you, and second, don't hurt those who have helped you. He presupposed that the reciprocity standard is a fundamental aspect of all human societies. Cross-cultural research on providing and receiving assistance shows that reciprocity occurs in all cultures, which lends weight to this notion. In every culture examined, there is a strong correlation between the frequency of offering and receiving assistance. And the last theory or approach is the individualistic approach. Similar to the evolutionary perspective, the individualistic perspective explains altruism in terms of individual tendencies to be helpful. Nevertheless, it is not always assumed that these characteristics are acquired through social learning, even though they can be done. Individualistic theories of pro-social behavior can be broadly divided into two categories. Those that explain pro-social behavior in terms of emotional states, and those that think that pro-social behavior is driven by enduring personality traits. Individualistic techniques look at who you are and how you feel to predict your propensity for pro-social behavior. That brings us to the end of this topic. Thanks for watching.